Hello and welcome to Miles Ahead. I'm Miles.
And I'm Bradley.
Right, I guess before we start this episode of, as you can see on the board, Toy Story 5, we are going to talk about our new recording space. So as you can see, we are together. We've got some guests on our table. Maybe sometimes we have other guests, maybe sometimes we won't. But what will stay consistent is this clapper board, which I haven't used in years, so it's good to have some sort of use. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy our new recording space, and we hope to
I'm
use it in the
born
future.
excited.
That's good to hear. Anyway, let's actually talk about what we're actually here to talk about today. So, as you can see on our new clapperboard, we are going to be talking about Toy Story 5. I guess the biggest movie of the summer so far?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
I mean box office wise, maybe not quality wise.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those films that have come out this year that I think it could be one of the most watched films, maybe. Obviously we got, June and potentially Avengers and Marvel with their Spider-Man coming, but I think in terms of like family entertainment children's film, I think this will be the film that people will watch sort of the most.
Yeah, I guess I harken back, it has made records. I think it opened the second highest opening weekend for an animated movie. So, it's probably going to make more records as its theatrical run it goes on. And for all those people who said Toy Story should have ended at 3, well, you're looking a bit, you might be right, but you're looking a bit silly now. I guess, let's talk about our thoughts on the overall story, and I guess what we liked more and what we didn't like. So I guess let's start first with fans. This is more of a Jessie story.
Yeah, this is definitely, yeah.
So sort of, it focuses more on her, and these two right here are more of they're more in the background. And I guess it makes some sort of sense considering Toy Story 4 was sort of Woody's story. Toy Story 5 should be Jessie's. And what will probably happen is Toy Story 3 will be Buzz. Did I say Toy Story 3?
Yeah.
I meant Toy Story 6 will be Buzz's story. So I think that sort of narrative, I think it's worked.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think this film was better than the last film, personally. And it was kind of nice to sort of not have Woody sort of in the foreground, because a lot of the other sort of Toy Stories have definitely focused a lot more on Woody. I mean, Buzz has obviously been there throughout the whole sort of 5 movies, and I guess you could say the first one is sort of his story in a sense, because he's sort of,
To an extent.
he's the new toy that comes in.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say the first one is sort of more of Buzz's story than it is Woody's, but Woody's definitely had more of a sort of, he'd been more involved in the other stories, and I think, I think it was nice that we had that continuation from where 4 sort of left off. I don't think we've had as much of a sort of continuation like that from movie to movie. So that was quite nice, I think, to have that sort of narrative going through it.
Yeah. I think obviously the story, the essential theme is tech v toys.
Yeah.
Which, is something sort of the toy industry in real life deals with a lot, because obviously children these days, you don't see them, or you might see a couple, but you don't see many with toys. They might have a phone, or they borrow their parents'
iPad
or anything like that. So I guess it's a real issue that's been around pretty much for a while.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that they finally sort of touch upon it. And I think obviously there's not to spoil it too much, but there's some extra buzzes with high tech.
Yeah. I think that was. I mean, again, like, I think when the extra buzzers were sort of first sort of introduced into the story, because that was the first thing that we saw in the movie, it was sort of a bit, okay, where is this going to go? Because suddenly we have a lot of buzzers, and is it a buzz story? Is it going to be someone else? And you were kind of a bit confused, and I like how eventually you sort of understood why they were there in the movie and why they were like first, essentially. And I thought their sort of journey almost throughout the movie was quite good as well, quite well written, quite well rounded as well.
Yeah, I do think the high tech buzzes were sort of ironically the best part of the movie. I think it was quite a clever idea because obviously I guess the Buzz Lightyear would still be quite popular now.
Yeah.
Depending if they've, I mean obviously canon wise we don't know if Buzz is based on a TV series or the film that was Lightyear, or I think less said about Lightyear the better. But you know it's sort of good to see that the character's more popular or is still popular, and they decided to update him. Because obviously for the time Buzz was the tech toy. You know, they had to talk it. This one doesn't have it. It's I think its batteries are dead, but you know.
Yeah, I mean it talks. It has a
laser.
Woody also talks.
Yeah,
it
Woody
has a laser. It has the
wings.
The wing, but the new Buzz had like drone capability.
Yeah,
kind of.
sensor things.
Yeah.
You know, it's very sort of high tech. Yeah, and I guess there is that collaboration with toys in real life as well.
Yeah.
So it's good that they sort of gave a little nod to that. And obviously, I guess, let's go harping back to Jessie, who is sort of the main character of this film, without going into high tech Buzz or, because it's sort of, obviously she's sort of now the sort of the Woody, not replacement, but she's in a Woody position that Woody would have been in if he was still in Bonnie's house.
Yeah.
And I think obviously this is sort of a very similar sort of storyline, like kids are growing up and like getting less interested in toys, maybe more into tech. And it's sort of a similar kind of, I mean, I've been doing that story for the last few Toy Story movies to be fair, but I guess there's only so much they can do. And, you know, I think her arc's quite well done. I think the idea that she's got I guess she's against tech because obviously they're replacing her, and then she learns throughout the movie to sort of, I guess, cooperate with them. Maybe I obviously don't want to spoil it too much.
I liked how they sort of introduced the backstory to her and why she didn't like tech, because you got to understand more about Jessie as a character and sort of why she had this fear.
I don't know if there's a backstory to why she hates tech. I think it's very clear.
It's not why
she
hates tech. It's more why she has fear of basically being replaced.
Yeah,
I think it's more of the story.
Yeah, I think in that case it was done well. Obviously, not to spoil it too much, but they do mention stuff about the Jessie's former owner, Emily, and you know that was quite well done. That was quite a nice sort of nod to say that stuff like that can happen, and that she wasn't forgotten, which I guess you obviously thought she was.
Yeah, I mean, I liked how they used the two different sort of settings and the two different sort of contrasting sort of, I guess, girls essentially, because obviously you had the new occupant of Jessie's old sort of house, which the story does go, Toy Story 5 does go into, but you also got Bonnie and sort of that relationship sort of kind of over the course of the film sort of becoming more and more. And I like the character building that they had in this film, because it wasn't only with sort of the humans, I guess, but it was also the toys and them sort of adapting, and obviously, not to spoil, but Jesse and Buzz. But yeah.
Yeah. I think it's probably best not to talk too much about that. But I guess they have sort of teased it in other movies.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. Is like they've had a little, maybe not as far as that, but it's sort of been a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But did they really need to make a whole subplot on that? Probably not. But I think that's because I think Buzz is like, obviously I think arguably Toy Story 4 he was kind of shafted
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, a lot of the other background toys were, but Buzz particularly was kind of shafted a bit. And I mean, obviously it was Woody's story, so obviously he was the main centerpiece, and Forky, who is in this film for like 2 scenes maybe.
Yeah.
But I think that's sort of the issue of the newer Toy Story films, is like the side toys, like Mr. Potato Head, Rex.
Yeah, I mean,
they're all sort of shafted to the side.
I remember like Toy Story 1 and 2, they were not the main characters, but they had a lot more to do.
Yeah, I think Toy Story 3 sort of every one of them had a part to play in somewhat of the film.
And Toy Story 4 to an extent as well. Not so much, but they did have stuff to do.
Yeah.
But in this film, I mean, they were literally put in a box in a garage.
There's like, what's it, the Potato Heads? Because obviously the actresses Don Rickles and Estelle Harris, who voiced them in, I believe, 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Have sadly passed away, and they got new voice actors. But obviously, they're in it so little, I forgot that they even spoke.
Yeah.
So it's like sort of, what was the point of hiring voice actors if you're not going to use them?
Yeah.
Is that they could have done an archive, which they did in Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
But I guess, hopefully, because I definitely think there is going to be, as much as people will probably complain, a Toy Story 6.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That hopefully they'll get some sort of, I guess, role, or significant role compared to the last 2 films. Because I think, I get they're not like Buzz and Woody status, but they're sort of iconic in their own rights.
Yeah, I mean,
people know who Rex is,
yeah.
People know who Ham is, all those characters, and they're sort of shafted to the side.
Yeah, I mean, I think the story could, Toy Story could do with sort of almost going back to basics in a sense, if they do another one, which they probably will, in terms of Toy Story 1 and 2 to an extent were fairly basic stories, and they all of the toys sort of had a role to play in some way, and I think that is what they need to sort of return to if they are going to do more films. Have the other characters.
If you remember a while ago, the Toy Story shorts where they did a couple of them centered on like other toys. So I think there's one with Rex. I think there's a couple of others. I think one's about Jesse with Combat Carl, who is in this movie.
Yeah.
But different voice actor, because again, Carl Weathers, who voiced him in that short, has sadly passed away. So I believe it's replaced by Ernie Hudson of Ghostbusters.
Okay.
So, I think he did well. I mean, it's not really in the movie for that much.
No.
So it's like, he's sort of, unless you've sort of seen Toy Story of Terror, you probably wouldn't really know who he is. But, I think he's a nice addition nonetheless.
Yeah.
I think let's sort of talk about some of the new additions. So like Conan O'Brien's, Putty trainer. Yeah. That was quite funny. It took me a while to actually realise that was Conan O'Brien.
Yeah. I mean, I liked how the story sort of, it started with obviously Jesse being completely against Lily Pad, which is the new
the villain,
sort of
yeah,
tablet,
which I think we
which
should
is
go
the
into.
main sort of antagonist, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then her sort of going through the story, going through her sort of other life with her other owner, and sort of being in that house, and then sort of learning that other toys were sort of, again, like you said, like shafted to the side, and she learned that because of a new updated techie toy took over, and then she ends up sort of working with them, with these new techie toys, and I liked how the story sort of evolved Jessie's character as well, because Jessie has always sort of been a female Woody, very much. She hasn't had a ton to do, and in this movie she's really sort of had a character, which I don't feel like she'd had in any of the other films.
I don't know if I'd agree with. I understand why you say female Woody, because essentially that is sort of her character in a nutshell. But I wouldn't say she hasn't had no character in the other films. I admit she probably hasn't been the focus since maybe Toy Story 2,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say she's been like a one-note character or anything like that. I agree they did more with the character in this film than they probably have done in the others.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say she was a one note before. Yeah, so I think now you mentioned it, let's go with the villain.
Yeah.
Lily Pad, voiced by Greta Lee. I think this is the thing. I think Toy Story has had so many Disney, Pixar in general
Yeah.
have had so many iconic villains that it's probably getting hard to. And I think especially when like Disney, they do the misunderstood villain in the last few years, whereas like the villain turns good near the end of the film, which happens in this one.
Yeah.
And I think Lily Pad's okay. I think with the start of it, when she's like recorded their voice and
Yeah,
plays
and
it out
played her
to
back
them,
in different
I
languages.
think that was
yeah.
quite well done, and it obviously tells you how much of a danger she could
Yeah.
be. And I guess I wouldn't really say she was the villain,
No.
because at the end of the day, what she was trying to do was good. She just went around it the wrong way, and she didn't really she misunderstood the people who was
Yeah,
connected.
I mean, Lily Pad was more of a misunderstood toy rather than
Yeah.
a villain in a sense. I don't think there was necessarily a villain. I think maybe the villain was sort of stubborn Jessie, sort of being
Yeah, I
completely
think
against
to
tech.
some extent Jessie was a villain.
Yeah,
Maybe not like a villain as she was evil, but like sort of, as you say, she was sort of very prejudiced against tech because obviously her
Yeah.
experience, and so as you mentioned a few times, the arc is to basically not
yeah, but
not be prejudiced, but to like cooperate with them or live with them, which spoiler does happen.
yeah. I do think that Lily Pad was quite effective though, in sort of the fact that she thought that she was doing the right thing, and I guess that sort of there's a deeper message there. But she thought she was doing the right thing, and then she sort of, I guess you could say through her algorithm, she sort of she sort of felt that or learned that she wasn't necessarily doing the right thing, and I thought that story arc was quite clever, in the fact that she realised it because of what Buzz, Woody and Jessie were saying and the other toys. But I think I would have liked to see more interaction between Lily Pad and the other toys.
Yeah,
Maybe like not lock away the other toys. Maybe like cut back to Bonnie's house where they're all sort of in like a court session or something like that. Like I think that would be more effective. Maybe it would have made the story a bit more complicated for like a children's sort of film, but I think that would have been a much more effective way of doing it rather than locking away the boring toys, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I think before I guess we can talk about if this film will get a sequel or not, which it definitely will. I think you should talk about sort of the playtime scenes, or like the play scenes, like when obviously Bonnie or whoever is playing with the toys.
Yeah.
I think that was like, obviously visually this film is probably the best Toy Story film. I think they've obviously got the visual style down and it shows how much Pixar has improved, especially like Toy Story. The reason they chose toys is because they couldn't really do humans that well.
Yeah.
And if you see like Andy or, well, yeah, I think it's Andy or his sister Molly, I think it is, you know, you can see they improved so much from like Toy Story 1 to Toy Story 3 in like the space of what, nearly 20 years? Over 20 years? Something like that. It's kind of like, it's really impressive how much the animation has actually changed, if you think of it like that. And this film, I think, obviously I think they've had their style set since maybe Toy Story 3, and they've all looked slightly better versions of that since.
Yeah.
But obviously I think, visually I think this film is amazing. And I think the play scenes, especially when they change the animation style so it looks more like a fairy tale.
Yeah, like cartoonish.
In the mind of like a child's, I guess, imagination.
Yeah, like they're
you know, it's like, it's really done.
Yeah,
like,
they're no longer toys.
Yeah, it's like
a storybook.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Because obviously they have done like playtime scenes before, but it's more like Andy holds Buzz and it's Buzz in his neutral pose.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think the last time they did something like that was the opening in Toy Story 3 where they have the train scene.
Yeah.
That was sort of the last time there was a play sort of scene that was quite unique. I think this one has at least 3.
Yeah.
And all done like, because they're so different, they're very unique and they stand out compared to the rest of the film.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think visually this was the better film. Just because of that sort of uniqueness with with those scenes, and also like we know they're toys, but they sort of, I think oddly they felt more like toys in this film than they have in other films.
Yeah, I think that's mainly because of the story or the theme about tech.
Yeah, but in terms of the way that they look, I think they definitely look more like toys, because in like especially to me in the first and second film, they had attributes of looking like toys, but they weren't. They were very much sort of over animated, I felt, to make it sort of look like they're not toys. And I think they've kind of refined it over the years, obviously, and they look like toys. And I think in this film they look and maybe feel more so like that. And yeah, I mean, I guess the story as well sort of helped it in that, but I think they definitely, I think visually this was the best film.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree with that.
I think the characters were very well done. Yeah, I think the other toys could have had more, but I definitely think, you know, if we're looking at all the characters, you know, the human sort of characters as well, then you don't really get to know or learn much about their relationships, and their sort of, they don't really get much character development. I suppose Andy did because he was like the original and whatever, but they don't really get much character development, and I think this film really showcased a lot of different skills and a lot of the different sort of attributes.
Yeah. I guess I don't know, because I think Bonnie, although she doesn't get as much attention as maybe Andy did in the original 3. He still gets quite, well, at least in this one, because she's sort of the B story, or the main reason why the plot moves as it does. So I wouldn't say she's been like to the side, but I will agree that probably Andy's had at least in the humans, of the film have had probably the most attention on it, especially in like Toy Story 3 as well.
Yeah, but like in this film, like Bonnie's mum and dad, like the
I think it's the first time
that
they've
they had.
showed the dad.
Yeah, but like the conversations they had is like mirror of an actual conversation that
it's
parents
very
would have.
realistic. Yeah,
And I thought that was just I mean I thought that was really well done, and maybe because I'm a bit older, and obviously this is our childhood film and whatever. But I think because we're older, we can appreciate that sort of side to it. That parents did have those type of conversations about toys or whatever, like helping you make friends. And I think that was kind of maybe on a child sort of now it would probably go over the head, but as someone who's a bit older and sort of grown up with these films and maybe now in a position to understand a bit more, I think I think they definitely understood their audience.
Yeah.
And it's not just a kids film, although it is a kids film. It's very much a generational, multi-generational film.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's sort of kids' films in general, though.
Yeah, but they definitely understood that, the children of during the first film are now.
Yeah.
They've
got kids of their own and stuff.
Yeah,
like
they
that.
might have kids of their own. They're like in their middle 20s, early 20s, late 30s, early 30s rather.
I think 30s is right. I know it's old, but it's like it's older than us. And welcome back. Now, I think now it's time to discuss whether this will get a sequel, which I think we both mentioned at some point in this video. Yeah, it most likely will.
Yeah, I mean, I think Toy Story is such a successful, well, Pixar especially, but I think Disney as well, more specifically. I think they'd be almost silly not to have another film.
Well, I think but I think it's more so the box office at the moment. It's probably going to reach $1 billion. One of the rare 2020 films that have actually reached $1 billion.
And also, when it goes into Disney Plus, I think this will be one of the most watched films. And I think the whole franchise will be more watched as well, generally.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely going to get a sequel. I think especially because now all the voice actors are getting on a bit. It'd be good to sort of cap it off there, because obviously Andrew Stanton, the director, has mentioned doing like a sort of trilogy for Bonnie, like they did with Andy. And I think they should sort of cap it off in that sense with a Toy Story 6. And I think they should try and actually end it there.
I think they will end the story, but I don't think they will end the whole thing. I think it's too much of a money maker, I think.
Yeah.
So I think they'll, like I said earlier, I think it would be nice if in the next film they gave the other toys more of like a character. And maybe find a younger actor, or like a couple of younger actors, or of the original cast who are younger, maybe want to continue doing some more films. Sort of, they get sort of like, if they get split off in the next film, and they go to like all different owners, then I think you could absolutely 100% do like a spin-off of Toy Story almost, focusing on a different character. And then because you have all those different sort of new homes where there's all these characters, maybe you don't want to follow all of them, but maybe especially Forky, you want to follow.
Yeah, because he's quite a new character, and there's obviously sort of Toy Story 4 is like sort of at the moment his biggest thing. So I guess it makes sense that they want to continue sort of certain stories like that. But I think at the same time, it's Buzz and Woody. It's like, would Toy Story be the same without Buzz and Woody? Probably not.
Well, I think what we sort of seen in this film is, yeah, Buzz and Woody were in it, but they weren't the main guys.
Yeah, but it's sort of, I know, yes, they were in it and they had a bit for less to do, but they were still in it. They were still a drawback. You know. I think without them, it won't feel the same. I'm sure it will still do decently, but it won't be like the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they sort of end in a way that I was saying, sort of have the toys sort of split off into different owners, and then maybe you follow a couple of the other characters who went to the same owner, I think they will try at least to do that and to maybe reintroduce, you know, a new Buzz and Woody. So maybe like Mr. Potato Head and Rex, you know, they go off to like the same owner, and then you follow their story as sort of the new Buzz and Woody. I think that would work. Would it have the same appeal? Probably not, but I think it would work.
Maybe, but at the same time, would you really want to see another? Because as much as this film is like, it's good, you know, it's enjoyable, you can definitely tell they're milking this series for every penny it's got.
Oh yeah.
Especially Pixar, like most of their films, or at least original concepts, haven't done as well as they used to. I mean, I think Hoppers, although we don't like it, you know, I think box office wise, I think it did fairly well. And this has probably surpassed that. But, you know, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, I think...
How long is that going to happen?
I think they will definitely try sort of to do a spin-off type of movie. I think they'll try it, and then maybe they'll just sort of retire the character, and then occasionally they'll bring it up in like a short on Disney Plus or something.
Well, yeah, I think that should be the way they go, because obviously when Toy Story 4 like, sort of came out, and it was obviously Woody's last one, they did a like short spin-off with like Forky, where it's like the toy, every other toy would basically explain what something is. And, you know, I think that was good. It was, you know, it was okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to necessarily see it to understand the plot of Toy Story 5 or anything like that. But, you know, it's just a fun, like, sort of addition to watch if you wanted to. And I think they should try and go back to that. Maybe, like, wrap up Toy Story 6 and maybe every now and again do, like, a special or something on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And I think that should be how they do it. I think they go and do a Toy Story 7 to, like, 9. I think people are going to be a bit like, man, they're only doing Toy Story films now.
I think also because Bonnie's still fairly young, yeah, do they have that jump in age? Because obviously, throughout the 3 Andy films, you know, he was young, he was slightly older, and then he was quite old.
Yeah, well, I think to be fair, there was like, Toy Story 2 and 3 had like a good, like, what, 15-year gap or something?
Oh yeah, but they
so it sort of that made sense.
They didn't
and technically
necessarily
Bonnie would,
to...
if they actually did it like in that age, then Bonnie would actually be what Andy was in Toy Story 3.
Yeah, but they within the Toy Story universe, they didn't have to have that jump. But I guess, you know, what you know, whether the film is 5 years from now, 3 years from now, or 6 years.
Well, I think this film was like made in like. I think usually they said it takes about 5 to 6 years to make a Toy Story, and this took about, what, 3 to 5 years? So, you know, that was like probably the quickest or shortest production span.
Yeah, so I guess I guess the question is, how would you wrap Toy Story? Would you have the jump and then they sort of go off and you sort of leave the story there?
Well, I think what you said is quite an interesting idea. But then again, because I think the thing is, because Toy Story 3 did have a pretty good ending for all of them.
Yeah.
And it's like sort of, I don't think they're going to strike lightning in the bottle twice with that ending kind of thing.
No, so
even if they do wrap up Bonnie's story, I don't think it will be as good as Andy's wrap up.
No.
Sort of kind of thing. Because if they try and do that sort of plot, it's basically Toy Story 3 again.
Yeah, but which is why I think they try something sort of different, and they split the toys off and sort of end the story there, and then you can sort of pick up in like shorts or like a mini film on like Disney Plus. Like it doesn't necessarily have to go to cinema, but it'll be on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And you focus on the different toys that were either put together or whatever. I think that's a good way of sort of ending. I definitely think that's how you end Toy Story, is to have them split off, and then you can, and then when you want to pick the toys up again, you just do shorts, and I think that's how you end Toy Story and continue the legacy there.
It that way. Yeah, I think that would make sense, but Disney and being Disney are probably not going to do that.
Yeah, yes and no. I think.
And who knows? We'll probably get a live action remake at some point.
Probably.
Because if they made Moana, which was not even that old to begin with, they're going to make a Toy Story at some point. I think they're smart enough now to know if they do that now, they are going to be, like, in big trouble. But I think they definitely have their eyes on it. At some point, I think it will they will definitely try it, but I think it's a silly idea and they should never do it. But who knows? We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they'll stop the whole live action remake craze by then, but I doubt it. Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching and listening to Miles Ahead, and catch you next time.